And House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy announcing his picks for the January 6th Select Committee. It wasn't even clear he was going to pick anyone, which is, of course, going to hold its first hearing next week. McCarthy saying that those chosen are, quote, mix of Republicans. But as the Washington Post reports, all 5 of them voted against impeaching Donald Trump for his role in the insurrection. And 3 of them were against certifying the election results on that day. McCarthy told NBC News that he did not discuss the committee when he met with the former president last week. Speaker Pelosi, of course, included former President Trump's most vocal Republican critic, Liz Cheney, as one of her choices to serve on the committee. So joining us now, former Democratic Congresswoman Donna Edwards of Maryland, and Brendan Buck. He is a former advisor to House Speakers John Boehner and Paul Ryan. Donna, what is the strategy that you see behind McCarthy's picks?
Well, I think
I know Pelosi has a veto power. Do you see any chance that she would use it?
I think it's unclear whether she would use it or not. I mean, what you see here, I think the crowd is really going to be led by Jim Jordan, who is one of the most vocal critics, the strongest supporters of Donald Trump. I'd be surprised if Jim Jordan didn't get a subpoena himself, because he has been he was talking reportedly with Donald Trump on January 6th. But I see this as a committee that's going to be sort of showboat and loud and attacking. And so Democrats are going to have to be very clear about keeping their heads down, staying focused on the facts, presenting witnesses, and letting the American people judge what really happened on January 6th.
And Brendan, Representative Cheney reportedly told Jim Jordan, according to Phil Rucker and Carol Lennox's new book, I Alone Can Fix It, quote, you expletive did this during the Capitol riot. And now these two could potentially be on the committee together to investigate the insurrection. How do you see that, the dynamic there?
Yeah, I mean, as Donna got to, it's one of the most interesting wrinkles here is that, there's 2 things they're going to look at, the sort of security operational failures, and I think that will be a bipartisan effort, but then what led up to this? And we know that Donald Trump and his lies contributed to it, but there were also members of Congress, I don't know about Jim Jordan, but there were certainly members of Congress who you could say contributed to the riot that day in their rhetoric and even participating in the speeches ahead of time. So I'll be curious to see whether they try to bring those people together. I will say, I think, given the options, Kevin McCarthy did pretty good here. Yeah, I think Jim Jordan is obviously well capable of conflict and fighting with Democrats, which is probably the number one thing they're looking for. I think Jim Banks is actually a pretty talented politician. Again, I think they're mostly going to be running interference here. The one I'm most interested in is Rodney Davis. People are calling him a moderate. I will say Rodney Davis is a normal Republican. So I think he's one to keep an eye on. There's no crazy in him. I think he'll be very interested in getting to the bottom of how the Capitol was so easily breached. He's the chairman, or the ranking member, I should say, of the House Administration Committee, which has oversight of sort of the Capitol complex. So that's the one I'm keeping an eye on, whether or not he is going to be straight and narrow, or he'll have to feed into a little bit of the Trumpism on the rest of the panel.
And Donna, just a quick procedural question. Do the Republicans have veto power over subpoenas, or can the Democrats just outvote them and issue subpoenas?
No, the Republicans don't. They actually gave that up by choosing not to have an independent committee, and Speaker Pelosi going with this select committee, that gives Democrats all of the power that they need to get to the evidence.